Good morning.
Good morning, Jew. It's a beautiful day here in Oakland. I'm Heather Gold.
I'm having a day in New York City. It's pretty gray. I'm Katie Halper.
Here at Morning Jew, we look at the headlines this week and we like to ask that ancient question, is it good for the Jews?
We're the only people with the chutzpah who will dare to ask that question that we know is on everyone's mind. Is this story good for the Jews? And we do that so you don't have to. You're very welcome. So,
it's the most Jewish thing Katie's ever said.
We're going to transition into the I can't believe they're not Jewish, which we'd like to do every week. Now, this one is kind of interesting. This person does not identify as Jewish. He insists he's not Jewish.
Insists. Which, by the way, I just want to say,
very Jewish.
There are two very strong Jewish traits: insisting you're not Jewish and insisting you don't believe in God. Both of those.
Interesting. He explicitly says he's not Jewish. He acknowledges, though, that he's constantly taken for a Jew because of his name and his phenomenological traits and phenotypical traits.
And what he does for a living and his demeanor.
And he's married to a Jew, so he likes them quite enough. And I'm speaking, of course, of someone whose paternal grandfather is Jewish and gave him the last name Myers. And I'm speaking of Seth Meyers. What's interesting is I don't know where to put him because I usually do either I can't believe they're not Jewish or an I can't believe they are Jewish. And Beth Compa, big fan of the show, non-Jew fan of the show, some of our biggest fans and friends are non-Jewish. She wrote me an email and said, I can't believe that Seth Meyers isn't Jewish. Did you know he wasn't Jewish? Now, that would put him in the I can't believe they're not Jewish camp. But I'm going to say he's what I'd like to call I can't agree he's not Jewish.
I can't agree either. For us, Katie and I, in our world of Judaism, really
a bagel passes your lips, done.
Not even. You saw it once.
Like out of the corner of your eye.
Our bar is so low. It really is not that hard. So he's so far beyond that. I mean, we just declared Hillary Clinton a booby last week, okay? Because her daughter has some Jewish sperm going on inside her to make a baby. So it takes very little for us. So Seth Meyers, but what's interesting is how much he wanted to do a whole bit on his show, letting everyone know he's not Jewish.
But he also acknowledged that he didn't want to sound like a schmuck, being like, oh, no, I'm not Jewish. But it is interesting how kind of emphatic he was. Like, it wasn't up for debate.
This week's Name That Jew, okay? He's changed his name. He was born in Chicago. His parents are immigrants named Takowitz. But his family moved when he was really young to California, which is already pretty unusual in the 30s. His parents were named Susan and Mickey. Mickey's the best. He did all right growing up. He was a class president. Most interestingly, this guy was on the high school gymnastics team.
When you realize who she's talking about, you'll see why it's amazing.
You'll be like, when this is done, and there is endless amounts to say about this guy. This guy is not only Name That Jew this week, he's going to be Shonda of the week in our first major story. He's such a big story. But when it's all over, all you'll remember is that guy was in gymnastics. He made his first killing as a divorce and PI attorney, which are, by the way, the low status levels of legal practice. You can make quite a bit of money doing them, but it sounds like he didn't really have access to the fancy, what get called white shoe firms, which if you were Jewish in those days, you absolutely did not. He got into real estate. He got bigger and bigger, became the owner of a professional basketball team named the Clippers. He's none other than Donald Sterling, this week's massive news story, exploding misogynist, racist news story, billionaire, yeah.
So as you may have heard, unless you live under a rock, tapes were released. It's unclear by whom. Tapes were released on which a man who people allege to be Donald Sterling is saying incredibly racist things to his mistress. He basically yells at her for posting photos of herself with black men on her Instagram account. And she points out the fact that, black people play for him. And he points out the fact that it's, thanks to him that they get to work and have food. So this later. But she even tries to bring up the whole, aren't you Jewish? Isn't this discrimination? And he flips out.
She has this very reasoned conversation with him. And he pretty much shows very extreme racism and misogyny. I mean, he's quite one of the reasons there are these tapes, and I think this is important on the Morning Jew story. We may be the only people who actually get into this, although this is a very covered story, is because his wife, He's still married. He's been with him a long time. He's had sex with many, 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 many mistresses,
Right.
very openly and flagrantly, so openly and so proudly that when he was sued, and he's been sued many times by one former mistress, he decided to go into incredible detail. And if you really want more gore on this story, you can go to the Smoking Gun and read the sexual details of his and the paid for element of that. His Jewish wife, who's soon to be his not wife, is suing to make sure that the gifts Donald Sterling gave to this mistress are accounted for, so that in her community property accounting, she gets whatever piece of it.
Also, we should bring up that, in all fairness to Donald Sterling, he is not just racist in his language. He is racist in his actions. In fact, he paid the largest settlement that the Justice Department ever obtained when he had to settle for discriminating against African Americans and Latinos in renting out his apartments.
Refusing
exactly,
based
to
on
rent
race.
out his apartments based on race.
Basically, this guy's a Shonda.
Shonda to the nth degree. I mean, he's like the biggest Shonda this year, I think.
I don't know, Woody Allen. We have a Shonda off at
We
some
can have a
point.
Shonda off. He was also accused of sexual harassment. He's a renaissance man of douchebaggery.
You've got every stereotype. The landlord who won't rent to people of color. Guy who owns a basketball team and talks about the players as though he owns them.
Right.
And what largesse he's doing for them by paying them salaries.
Calls them the N-word. Behind their backs, at least.
Doesn't want, not his wife, but one of his endless number of mistresses, who herself is of color.
Oh yeah, she's half Mexican.
To show herself associating with anybody else because he has to control her that completely.
But he does let her. He says that she can sleep with them. He just doesn't. He's very Instagram sensitive. But it's kind of like, duh, he's going to act like this. He's been getting away with this crap for years. The NBA hasn't called him out on anything. It's like,
no, the NAACP gave him an award.
Yeah, what is that? Because he gave them some money. What's amazing is that other people have come to his defense. Very noble characters like Donald Trump, who says that the girlfriend baited him. Also that she's the girlfriend from hell. Yes.
Katie, sadly, that is the only part of the story that's good for the Jews, because the worst part of the Shonda is that it plays into this idea of, or phenomenon of Jews being really racist. And kind of holding ourselves up as caring about social issues and marching the civil rights movement, yet having their wealthy Jews like Donald Sterling. And look, here's true colors. Behind closed doors, you can hear just how racist this guy is.
This is good for
the only thing that would be good for the Jews is having other conservative, wealthy assholes like Donald Trump who aren't Jews. Because then it makes it much more like this is about a control narcissistic wealth thing. This isn't about just the Jewishness.
Yes, you get these other putzes who aren't Jewish defending him.
It does seem like we've had a year of rich old white guys complaining about everybody else, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's hard for them. It's hard out here for a rich old white guy. There's another huge story, of course, is that People magazine came out with its 50 most beautiful people.
People magazine.
People magazine, L'chaim. So number 1 this year is Lupita Nyong'o.
Nyong'o?
Yeah, she's on the list, and so is Mindy Kaling.
Fantastic.
Carrie Russell, who may be a little Jewish. I'm going to have to look that up.
Is she the star of Scandal?
Felicity, no. That's Carrie Washington, who's also on it.
Okay.
I was kind of excited because I realized that for as much as we're accused of running Hollywood, we certainly don't make the top beautiful lists very much.
But that's, you know why that is?
I know
it's
why.
Because we
we're
run
on the
Hollywood.
other side of the camera.
It's because we run Hollywood and nobody thinks less of Jews, FYI, than Jews.
We have a Jew on the list. Pink.
Pink's on there.
I have to.
So why are we not on this list? Because how many Jews do you think were involved in making the list? Got to be a few.
I don't know. We have to look at who works at People.
We've never had our moment of embracing Jewish as beautiful, ever.
Right.
Instead, we have the Joan Rivers School of Beauty, which is if you have enough money, it's your responsibility to buy the least Jewish-looking punim you can.
Which has now become so Jewish-looking.
It's like a new Jewish look, the fake
so sad.
nose.
And speaking of beautiful people, of course, we want to bring up one of the world's most beautiful people, I would say, both inside and out. And of course, I'm talking about none other than Sarah Palin. One of the reasons I'd be concerned if she did end up in the White House or had ended up is because she says things like what she said the other day at an NRA event, where she said that waterboarding is how we baptize terrorists. And she was criticizing liberals for being opposed to waterboarding.
This was at an NRA rally,
NRA
right?
Rally, yes, a big NRA event.
Waterboarding is how we baptize terrorists. Is like, not only are we going to torture you, not only am I going to butch myself up, Republican Party, and we're going to make you Christian. We're going to take away your religion by force, by torturing. I mean, it's the Inquisition.
Well, I knew that liberals, we would be, people on the left would be upset because it's a disgusting thing to say. But I forgot that Christians were also offended because they thought she was making light of their religion. I think this is like the best thing for Jews in a really long time. First of all, I like that she goes on record equating baptism with torture. Like, this is some great pro-Jew.
I gotta give you a high five on that one.
Right?
You know what? Because we haven't been able to really prove that shit since like the 15th century.
And you have one of their own bringing it up. She put her foot in her mouth. She doesn't even realize it. She's a mitzvah for the Jews. She's our mitzvah this week. Yeah.
She hasn't had a lot of press in a while, Sarah Palin, and it looks like to me like she's upping the level of rhetoric. Yeah. Like, she's got to jack it up, so she had to go all the way to Inquisition level.
Right. Thank you for being a witness to the Inquisition, Sarah Palin. You
forced Christian conversion. And the way we do Christian conversion is by force of torture.
Right.
Yeah. Come on.
So we have our wrap-up stories. We have our Donald Sterling. I think we both agree, bad for the Jews. The question is really how bad, not whether.
Horrific. Incredibly bad for the Jews, especially the more people. But I would say this. It gives us an opportunity here on Morning Jew to own the fact that he's Jewish, to not run from it, and to say it's fucked up.
Right, it is fucked up. Then People's Most Beautiful List. I like that Lupita Nyong'o is on top of it.
Good for the Jews? Yeah, why not?
So. Challenging the traditional blonde hair, blue-eyed standard of beauty.
Mindy Kaling is, to me, honorary Jew. I'd give her like an almost
She's
Jew.
A Hindu.
Like, she's as close as we're going to get. Yeah. I know she's a fan of Jewish male comics. Right. Overall, pretty reflective that Jews don't put themselves in that world, and that's not so good for the Jews.
So not good for the Jews. So mixed. It's a draw. And then, ironically, I think our best story for the Jews in a few weeks is Sarah Palin's absurd statements about baptism by torture. She came through for us, Sarah. Thank you, Sarah. This is a special night. Why is this night different from many other nights?
Why is it, pray tell?
Because we are doing some breaking news reporting.
And this is some dedicated shit where we're trying to update this week's Morning Jew because we couldn't. Listen, we felt bad because this week's Shonda is a doozy.
So big.
And we knew we needed a mensch chaser to handle the level of Shonda because Donald's talk with Sterling. Oh, he's making Bernie Madoff look not that bad. I mean,
we felt terrible that we weren't going to have an updated story. And then what really nailed it for us was we received a message from Aunt Linda, former guest, longtime listener. So we're going to play you what she said.
Hi, Katie. It's Aunt Linda. I emailed and Facebook regarding your mensch for this week. You have the best possible situation, which is Sterling versus Silver, the commissioner on the NBA. And there's a great article that I emailed you about the Jewish factor in this. So, have fun.
Just in case you don't know what happened, basically Adam Silver, who is the commissioner of the NBA, he gave Sterling the harshest punishment that you can give him. He charged him as much as you can charge him. Fine him as much as you can fine him.
Which is true Sterling bupkis.
But listen to this, ready? He banned him for life. That's so dramatic and wonderful. He's banned for life from the NBA. He can't set foot in a Clippers game. It's kind of weird because he still owns them. They need the other owners. A majority of the other team owners need to vote to oust him for him to leave. So that's the only thing. But even if he owns it, he's banned for life.
The mensch of the week is not just Adam Silver for banning him. I'm extending it to every player in the NBA who all committed to boycotting the next game if Silver didn't do this. So there is a silver lining.
Anyway, but we wanted to give you this announcement. So we have how many? We have to find out. A caller needs to tell us how many members are in the NBA. That's how many mensches we just added. Most of them aren't Jewish, so we got some honorary mensches and honorary Jews also. Lots going on this week.
So one Shonda gave rise to,
as we've said before,
many mensches.
Behind every Shonda is a mensch. Mensch potential. Mensch potential.
Cheers to you, Adam Silver.
Thanks to you, Adam Silver.
Thanks for saving our tushes, and thank you, NBA players, for being inspiring.
Oh yes,
and next time, some NBA owner wants to discriminate against people in their housing, get on their tuchus right away. Don't wait for the Mistress Act.
Make them think twice.
All right.
Shalom. See you later.
See you later.
Let's.